Welcome back, Daily Fandom fans. Welcome to our second installment of Cosplay Corner. We have for you Bob Mask. He's a wonderful gentleman to talk costuming and cosplay with. He got into cosplay a little later in the game, as he'll explain when we get into the interview, but he's done quite a bit, having come into a little later than most people. He's very sweet, very generous, and he has a lot of interesting insights into cosplay from maybe a different perspective than maybe you're used to hearing. He did ask me to do a quick plug for him for Rocky Mountain Con, which he's going to discuss a little more towards the end of this, but there will be links at the bottom of this video so you guys can go check out Rocky Mountain Con. It's a con that actually a lot of the ticket sales go to a charity, which is really nice. I had a lot of fun with this one. I didn't have to talk too much. Bob had so much information and knowledge he wanted to share. He kind of took over the show, which was amazing. So I hope you enjoy this interview with Bob Mask, and we had a lot of fun doing it. And hopefully he will put me in touch with other cosplayers so we can kind of broaden our cosplay knowledge. As you can see, he's done everything from Xavier to Batman to a lot of other lesser known characters. He'll be the first to tell you he's not the best at sewing, but what he is the best at is being willing to learn. So have fun and enjoy Cosplay Corner. So this is your first ever Skype?
This is my first ever Skype. Technically, I have Skyped my son has been in college for a number of years, and so he he and his mom would Skype, and I would kind of sneak in on occasion. But this is actually my first real live Skype. So
I like the view of the Bob Cave in the back there.
Thank you. Yeah, we are in the cave, and just kind of there's all the stuff, but this is yeah, we're actually sitting at my sewing table. So
wow.
If I turn around this way, there's the sewing table and stuff like that. So got a couple of projects on here that I'm in the middle of and that sort of thing. So
your sewing machine's so much smaller than everything else in the room.
Well, and here's the thing. I honestly, I only learned, and to say I've learned to sew is really an optimistic statement because I'm learning all the time. But that sewing machine I actually got at Walmart like 2 years ago.
Wow.
And I bought it, and it sat there for probably 8 months before I had the guts to actually even try anything. So so no, really. So I started out with making I got something really simple. I got some fleece and I started making some scarves because here in Colorado I can make a scarf and give it to somebody and go yay. So I started doing that, and I actually have some friends out there now that have Bob Mask scarves, and I feel bad for some of them because some of them got the first ones that weren't quite as good, and then others got some better ones. So I keep doing that, and I'll probably have to go back to some of the folks that got the originals and say, okay, here's a better one now.
See, now the originals are vintage, Bob.
Well, there you go.
They're vintage. You know how this works.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's my sewing machine, and I keep hearing, and again, I'll freely admit I'm a big fake.
Okay.
I say I'm a costumer, but I don't know half the stuff that's going on. So
right.
when somebody talks about like they have their serger or they have these, and I don't have a clue what that is, and I need to ask because I know that I know it's probably something that I should know how to do at some point, and I just haven't learned it yet. But no, this has actually been really good so far. My first, I'm actually, like I said, I'm in the middle of several projects right now. But one of the things that I'm most proud of, my biggest thing so far on this sewing machine has been, and I don't know if you saw any pictures of my night owl from the Watchmen costume.
I don't.
But
that's the bronze one, right?
Right.
Okay, yeah, it's all you have it in your current costumes album. Yes. Okay.
So that cape that is actually pleather on the outside and then a lining on the inside, I actually made that on this sewing machine. So it turned really well. And I was really proud of that one. So that's kind of my biggest thing so far. But where, like I said, I learn stuff all the time, and I'm always pestering people, asking things about what they do and how they go. So yeah, I'm learning a lot along the way, and but it's been a good little machine. So
Good, good.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
let's go back to the
Okay,
beginning.
okay,
First off, thanks for coming and joining me with your
absolutely,
Skype and everything on Daily Fandom.
absolutely.
I was curious as to what got you into wanting to do cosplay.
Okay. That is actually, I think it's an interesting story.
Okay.
It actually, but see, let me back up. I've been a comic book fan all my life.
Okay.
And I remember when I was 5 years old, my dad was in the Air Force for years and years and years. So
Right.
we lived in Maryland at the time, and I would come home from school, from kindergarten in the afternoon. And you know how, well, like on The Simpsons, they have Krusty the Clown.
Right.
Okay. And
Right.
no matter where you were growing up, you had an afternoon TV person who
Right.
did, stuff.
Right.
Well, in Maryland, it was a gentleman called Captain 20, and
Okay.
it was Channel 20. And
Okay.
so he was like this space guy, and he did, they had a lot of shows that they would, I watched, I got Speed Racer and a lot of those stuff. But the Adam West Batman was
Okay.
always on. So that was kind of my first, introduction into anything.
Okay.
So that being said, that's what got me started in comic books and what has made me the Batman fan that I am.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's years and years and years. And then oh my goodness, probably about 4 years ago, I was with my daughter. We were going to the comic book store and I can't remember if it was Free Comic Book Day or they were doing something at the store. But anyway, I was going to the store, and at the time she was just getting interested in art, which is her
Okay.
major now. She's an
Oh,
artist.
nice. Okay.
And so she said, "Can I come with you?" And I said, "Absolutely."
Right.
And so we got to the store and we were wandering around, and she was looking at different things. And and she got we were probably there a couple hours, and looking at all kinds of stuff. And so then when we were driving home, she asked me. She said, "Well, they have conventions for this kind of stuff, right?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, have you ever been to one?" And I said, "Sweetie, the last time I was at a convention was like 1989. When I was in Texas, Dallas Comic Con, and it was right before the Keaton, Batman came out, and so it was years ago." So I said, "I don't know anything about cons." I said, "But you know what? I'll let me dig around." And my so what I did was I just got home and I started Googling cons and different
Yep.
things, looking at pictures and reading about what was going on. And there was a couple of people who kept popping up in pictures, and I would like, "Oh, I recognize that. I saw that person somewhere else," and I'd say, whatever. And so after a while, you kind of saw the same
Same
people
people over and over.
popping up
Right.
again. And now I'm going to make myself sound like a stalker, and I'll freely admit, but it turned out okay. It turned out okay. So I was looking at people trying to figure out who I could ask questions about,
Right. Right.
and obviously one of the things I have found, and I know I'm kind of getting off the subject, but
That's
one
fine.
of the things I've found about and I'm sorry, I'm stuttering because I say costuming. I don't say cosplay, and that is
Okay.
there's no, and I want to say
Yep.
there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yep.
That is when I think cosplay. See, I'm old school. When I
Right.
think cosplay, I think anime and
Right.
when things were really that was kind of what people thought about.
Thought of.
So now
Right.
when it's all about everything,
Everything.
it's still kind of odd to me to say cosplay. But
Cosplay.
I've
Okay.
a lot of wonderful friends who that's what they say, and I'm fine with that. But anyway, so here in the community, and they say community, here in the community, you will find a lot of people go by different names than
Right.
what their actual name is, and
Right,
for
right.
privacy and all that kind of stuff, because there's a lot of people who obviously are very popular.
Mm-hmm.
So to make a long story short, the first person I found that used their real name um, was was a gentleman named Danny Kelly. And I don't know if
Okay.
you're familiar with Danny Kelly. He and his wife Heather have been doing this for a long time. They're dear, dear friends of mine now.
Mm-hmm.
Really family, I like to say. But so I found them on Facebook, and I
Okay.
said, okay, here they are. So I just sent them a note, and I
Mm-hmm.
said, honest to goodness, you have no idea who I am. And what I do, and I actually do that now a lot when I because I have a lot of friends on Facebook that I've never actually met,
Mm-hmm.
and usually it will be I see somebody in a costume that I just really is impressed, or a body of work that just really impresses
Right.
me. So I'll send them a note and I'll
Mm-hmm.
say, you probably don't know me. My name is Bob Mask. I live
Mm-hmm.
in Denver, Colorado with my wife of 24 years and my two kids and da 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 da. So anyway, so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I did with Danny. And I
Okay.
said I said I'm just trying to find out what's going on.
Right.
And it probably wasn't 45 minutes later that I got a message back
Mm-hmm.
from him, and just the nicest,
Nice.
response you could ever get. And so we started talking about,
Mm-hmm.
cons and that kind of thing. And he said to me, and I will never forget this, he said, but to really enjoy it, you
Mm-hmm.
need to do a costume. And I
Okay.
was like, and at the time I was, and let's be honest. So 3 years ago, I was 45,
Right.
a bit overweight.
Okay.
Hadn't seen the inside of a gym in quite some time. I was kind of the Homer Simpson, Gaim, what's Gaim? Um, and so so I said, well, let me think about that.
Yeah.
And so with his help and his encouragement,
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of I actually got back into the gym and got healthier and dropped some weight. And so at that point in time, I thought, maybe I might do something like that. So the very first thing I ever did, I was trying to find something simple, something
Right.
that I could do, that either with somebody's help,
Okay.
or and something that wouldn't cost an arm and a leg, because one of the things I have found out in this hobby is
Cosplaying is expensive.
is
Yeah.
expensive. So I went on one of those websites from
Mm-hmm.
China where they sell the basic skins and stuff, and I had a character that I love,
Mm-hmm.
who is very few people know. He had, it was 6 issues in the early '90s in DC Comics by Keith Giffen, and it's
Okay.
a character called the Heckler.
Okay.
And basically, the way I used to describe it was the Heckler was kind of like Spider-Man meets Bugs Bunny.
Okay.
And
Okay.
now, actually, I would say, the Heckler, if I was describing him to somebody, I would say the Heckler is Deadpool without the guns or the obnoxiousness. So
Okay.
so that was the Heckler, and that was really my first suit. I found a lady in the Denver area who did theater costuming, and I
Mm-hmm.
went with her with some drawings and some things that I did, and the stuff that I already had.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, can we work with this and do? And she said, oh yeah, I think so. And so because my plan was I was going to go my first MegaCon in
Oh,
Orlando,
okay. Okay.
and that was going to be my first con, and I was going to meet Danny and Heather and several other people that I got to meet over
Mm-hmm.
over Facebook. And so I was going to have one costume, and I was going to do, and I say that, remember that comment that I was going to have one costume. um
It
uh,
always starts with
yeah,
one.
started that way. And so I went and did all that and got it all done, and and it was really cool. I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed it, and I had it done, and I had some time before before MegaCon, and the lady had told me at the time. She said, if you ever have any other things you want to work on, let me know. Um, and so that was when um, I was thinking about characters that I liked, and characters that might be
Mm-hmm.
easier to do, and that's when I came up with Dead Man.
Right.
Um,
Okay.
and so Dead Man was actually my second costume, that I had this lady's help with, and I figured it was great because I've got my winter fuzz on right now, but I'm usually bald, so it
Right.
was great to have and it all worked out really well, and she helped me do that. So when I went to my first MegaCon, I actually had three costumes, and that's another story. But so I had my crew, or my heckler, and my dead
Uh-huh.
man. And Dead Man is actually one of the things that has been kind of retired for some time, but is probably going to come back out at some point.
Good.
But so
Good.
to answer your question in a very roundabout way, that is how I got Danny Kelly and his wife Heather, and a lot of wonderful people I met along that journey of getting ready for my first con is really how I got into costuming. And after that, it just kind of took hold, and I think, my goodness, honestly, I think right now, and I don't know for 100% sure, but I want to say I have 11 costumes with three more that I'm working on right now.
Yeah. Now,
So
I noticed in your current costumes folder, you didn't have your Dr. Xavier.
no, and there's
Because I was just like, I was thinking while you were talking, I'm like, wait, because
right.
Xavier wasn't in that
Well,
album, and that was an
that's
awesome costume.
thank you. That is actually one again. It's a funny story. I have never. Xavier is one of those people who. And now let me be straight up front. Thanks to Marvel Studios, I am much more of a more Marvel fan guy than I used to be because
Okay.
I've always been a DC guy.
Okay.
But I'm actually starting to go back now and I'm buying a lot of graphic novels and stuff, catching up on Marvel stuff because I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe and a huge Agents of Shield fan. I mean,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
that is my probably my favorite show on the line right now. But anyway, so I have another friend who you may or may not know. His name is Ned Cox, and he's
Okay.
also from Atlanta. He does a lot of Captain America, does Cyclops. He was the Cyclops in the shoot in the big.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the big group shoot that you guys
Right,
did. Yeah.
right. And so
Okay.
he actually called me, and he said, "Okay, Bob, I'm calling you out. We need Dr. Xavier." And I kind of nodded my head, and I said, "Let's be honest, Ned. I'm the only bald old white guy you know." And he said, "Yeah, but that's not really the point." So
You're like,
anyway,
yeah, it is.
yeah. So basically, what I did for that was I just had a suit in the closet, and I went on eBay and found a little for Xavier's school pin, and oh, and I'm a horrible person because I cannot remember the name of the guy that I met at and I wanted to give him a shout out because he was the guy that built the chair. That
Yeah,
chair
because that chair was amazing.
it was, and that chair was not mine. That chair was his, and he brought it. I'm when you get old, you forget stuff, and I feel horrible. I'm gonna come back, and I'm gonna figure out, and I'm gonna send you a note.
Yeah,
So
we'll
what
tag
his-
it or something.
What
Yeah.
his name is, so we can. But he does some amazing stuff, and Dragon Con that year was the first time I met him. So anyway, so that's how Xavier kind of happened. And it's kind of got in the back of my mind now the idea that I would like to build a chair
Okay.
to do because let's be honest, I'm a bald old white guy. I can do Xavier. So
Like, this is not a stretch.
no, it's not
It doesn't
shit.
take a lot of work.
and I get to sit, so that's always good. But that was actually another quick little funny story, and then we'll about that is I got there, and I'm wandering around and having fun and talking to people, and everybody's making fun of the fact that the chair's not there yet. So Professor X is walking around, and so when the chair gets there, I'm like, okay, this is awesome. And so I sit down and I'm really comfortable and I'm enjoying myself, and I'm sitting there, and swear to you, we were doing some stuff and I needed to move, and so I'm looking around for somebody to move me. And I was like, wait a minute, I can walk. And so I got up and pushed myself out of the way. But I swear to you, for 2 or 3 minutes, I was sitting there going, well, is somebody going to come move me, out of the way? And so, no, that's the method costuming, approach. So
That's
Anyway,
awesome. You're like, wait a second, I have legs.
so anyway, so that is true. But yeah,
Okay.
Xavier was fun because it was something that I never honestly and the thought had never even crossed my mind to do it.
Right.
So but the funny thing is I'm always on the lookout for characters obviously that I can do with my follically challenged head. Or the other thing I really like to do is I like to do characters that are a little off the beaten path. Some people call them like B-list characters or C-list characters or something like that.
Yeah.
I always like to do that. And I always come back to Batman. That's always, the thing I love to do. But yeah, it's always fun to do something that somebody doesn't see a
I
lot.
think I lost sound. Hold on a second.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there we go. I just turned
Okay.
volume down accidentally. Ooh, okay. Sorry about that.
It's always fun to do something, that people don't see a lot of, and then it's really exciting when they recognize it and appreciate that. So and the more I build and the more I do, myself, it really is a lot more gratifying. When people say, "Oh, that's a great costume," and I can say, "Well, I did this and I did that," and so. But again, I want to say this: I have a number of friends who are ridiculously talented,
Yeah.
and they have, in some cases they've donated things to me to wear. They've made things for me to be part of a costume. They've given me advice on how to do something or ideas about how to how to go at something. So it's really, I'm it's so much fun to
Right.
do that and then to work with friends, especially friends that I don't get to see, a lot.
Okay.
Because I think on Facebook I've lost track, but I think I've got, like 1,500 friends or something like that. And probably 75% of them I've never met in person.
Yeah.
But I still talk to them on a daily basis. So it's a neat.
That is awesome. That's like the perk of Facebook, though.
Absolutely.
That is definitely the perk of Facebook. So, I kind of wanted to, because the cosplayer I interviewed before you, Ceremony, who I think you watched some of the video, she said the same thing about how she likes to do the lesser known characters.
Right.
She did Omega Sentinel. She did she did a gender bend version of Havoc because she hates Cyclops. She's like, I hate Cyclops. I think it's kind of neat when you see those lesser known characters like at the cons. I mean, I will admit I know nothing about comic books. I'm completely clueless. I know I'm horrible. But I'm involved with Arrow now, so I'm slightly good. The TV show. They had the boxing glove last week.
The boxing glove era. Well, and see,
they had it on the show.
that's a very bittersweet thing for me. Number one, because yes, I like Arrow, and I'll be honest, I don't enjoy Arrow as much as I've been enjoying The Flash.
Right, Flash is awesome,
which is a fun show. But he used the Arrow on Ted Grant,
right,
who is Wildcat, and I actually costume Wildcat. So to see Wildcat get bumped by the first boxing glove Arrow, that's not a great thing for me. But no, yeah, that was pretty neat.
Well, I liked how they worked it in because since season one, everybody's like, "Come on, do it!"
Right.
And I love how they worked it in to where it made sense.
Absolutely.
And after I saw that scene, like my first thought was, I wanted to be in the writers' meeting or the stunt meeting where they're like, "Okay, we're in a boxing gym, and wait a second, we have a boxing glove."
Yeah.
This will make sense now.
Absolutely. Well, I have a wonderful friend named Brian who actually does a fantastic. He does the old school Green Arrow with the goatee, right. And then he also does Arrow, the newer Arrow, and he went nuts when the boxing glove Arrow, and so I was happy for him because I knew that was going to make his day. So
yeah, I have the same thing. I have a friend who has all the Arrow comic books.
Okay.
And so the morning after on Facebook, I tagged him. I'm like, boxing glove Arrow, that is all. And he texted me back, and I'm like, and how far did we jump? And he's like 6 feet.
Yeah.
This is so awesome. Like, yay. So since you're fairly new to the sewing aspect and you say you're still learning,
Oh yes.
what, I mean, what from like a male character side do you think is challenging to sew versus maybe like a female character side, or have you
Oh
had those conversations with female
well.
cosplayers or?
Oh yes, I have,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things that I have learned is that there is no modesty in
Yeah.
in
Mm-hmm.
costuming. I learned this the first time I ever tried to put on a dance belt, and I'm going to leave that right where it is. Uh, but and then you're asking people, how do how do you keep that
Everything.
this
Yeah.
way, and that kind of thing, and which is really cool because if I wasn't into costuming, this would just be a creepy old man asking these questions. But now it's actually for research, and it makes sense. But the thing for me is there's so many different things that you can do,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're male or female. And I'm still learning. Like for instance, spandex is not an easy thing to sew.
I have
Um,
heard.
and yeah, well,
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to people who have been doing this for years and years and years, and they'll say, yeah, it's not easy. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
just getting a couple pieces of fleece and sewing it
Sewing them
together.
together. Yeah.
So whenever I think about a costume, um, I not only and this is it to me. I've had people tell me it's not. To me, it's kind of cheating. But thinking about how to build something. For instance, in my blue and gray Batman costume,
Right. Mm-hmm.
the 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 gray part, the shirt and the is not actually, it's a two piece,
Mm-hmm.
and what it is it's a compression shirt and compression leggings from East Bay,
There you
and
go.
that's what it is. And then you add the other stuff. So I didn't do any sewing putting the bodysuit together. Now it is my goal, one of my goals is to actually sew a bodysuit, and to do that, because I think anytime I think about doing a costume, something
Mm-hmm.
that I'd like to put together, I sit down with a sheet of paper or my little notebook, and
Mm-hmm.
I start thinking out, okay, what here's the picture, here's the
Mm-hmm.
cartoon. How do I realize that in real life, and what
Right.
do I need to do, to create that? Can I do, going all the way back to Dead Man,
Mm-hmm.
my second costume, when I was designing that. I just went and ordered a $30 red,
Mm-hmm.
spandex suit, and now I'm thinking, okay, I got to figure out how to make this big collar. I got to figure out, do I
Mm-hmm.
have gloves attached or gloves separated? So you just never know, how that's going to do. I
Okay.
have got a list a mile long of the things that I want to learn to do, and
Mm-hmm.
and the goals that I have in costuming. I mean, I'm going to say, and I'm going to be completely honest. I probably have a good 5 or 6 years before it's not going to be as easy for me to go to the gym every day, and to be in
Yep.
that kind of costuming shape. But so at that point in time, I can always go back to the Dark Knight Returns Batman, the old
Yeah.
thick guy. I figure I'm good with that. But that doesn't mean that I want to stop making costumes or stop,
Mm-hmm.
building things. So I've still got I mean, I admit I started way late, but I have so many things that I want to
Mm-hmm.
try to do and try to learn how to do. So yeah, I don't know that if there's I guess the really big difference
Mm-hmm.
between male and female costumes, and unfortunately, it's the way
Mm-hmm.
somebody is perceived,
Okay.
depending on their gender,
Right.
based on what they're wearing. I mean, I can go, and let's not use me, because you don't want to see me without a shirt. Uh, but let's use somebody. Let's use somebody, really
Mm-hmm.
really in awesome shape, and they'll do Hawkman. And
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't wear a shirt. He's
Right.
got the harness and the big wings and everything. But so if somebody sees a guy walking around with no shirt and tights and big wings, they're gonna say, "Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Look how good he did that. Look how ripped he is."
Mm-hmm.
That sort of thing. And to be fair, you're gonna find somebody. Let's pick a revealing costume, Vampirella, which is always, I'm always impressed when somebody does that beyond the obvious reasons.
Yeah.
When because that's one of those things that doesn't really translate well from the comic book
But
to real
yeah,
life.
to real life.
So you've got to do some serious logistical
Yep.
taping and such things to make it work. But when somebody who doesn't really appreciate that kind of thing sees that, first thing they're going to say is, "Oh, look at that girl, dressed like
Yeah.
that." And
Right.
that's so to me, and I hear it so many times, and it's sad. But that to me, I think that's the biggest thing is as a male, um, it's a lot easier for me to pick a costume and to maybe push the limits of that costume without having people look at me or having to worry about walking from point A to point B, without being
Right.
harassed by people. So
Right.
yeah.
Right.
And unfortunately, in the I've been to a number of cons now, and for the most part, they've all been good experiences. I have seen on occasion the negative side of it, and it's sad, but unfortunately, especially since this has become more mainstream, um, it happens,
Yeah.
and all you can do is try to educate people and protect people when you can. I try, if I'm at a con with somebody and they're, well, if anybody, not whether depending on their dressed, however
Right.
they're dressed, but I try to hang out with people, especially my female friends, if they're going from point A to point B and I can go with them. I'll usually try to do that just simply because it helps. So yeah.
Yeah. Now, as you stated, you kind of came into this late in the game.
Uh-huh.
Do you kind of find that that presents additional challenges as far as like what characters you might want to cosplay versus what you think you can fit into physically for
What?
characters? Because I know there's discussion as to like
Sure.
body
Body
size and should
style
it matter and,
and you
that
know
type
what?
of thing.
If I had a little more humility, then it probably would. But I don't care.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm having fun. Now, I will tell you this: I do a lot of work with an organization called Heroes Alliance,
Yeah.
and there have been discussions about, if a character doesn't have the right body type, should they do this? Should da 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 whatever. Now, I'm going to say this, and I will say this to anybody that asks me. I don't care what gender you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what body type you are. If you wanna costume Lobo. I don't care. If you wanna costume Black Panther, and you're a middle-aged white female, costume Black Panther. With Heroes Alliance, a tad bit different, because a lot of times we're working with kids,
And they
you
have that image.
and they
yeah.
have that image. And I've seen pictures of myself at just a recent event where I was wearing my blue and gray Batman. Where, thank God for capes, is what I'm going to say, because you wrap yourself in a cape and you're good. Um, but I looked at myself and I said, I've let myself kind of drift back into an area that I don't feel is presenting the character in the best light. So
Okay.
for those situations, yes, I'm gonna say there are some costumes that I won't not wear, but in looking at pictures, they say that says to me, hey, you need to get back to the gym. You
Right,
need to take a little
right.
bit better care of yourself. Now, as long as I can keep doing that, I'm cool. With the Heroes Alliance stuff, when I feel like I'm not able to present a somewhat realistic thing for the
Right,
kids
right.
to see, then I'll kind of slip into the background and continue to work, but let other people do that. Now, I'll probably be 70 years old and squeezing into a cowl, because it's fun. And I mean,
Right, right.
I've had people ask me, well, what are are your kids embarrassed that you, because my son is 21, he plays college football in Texas. My daughter is 19, and she's an art student here. Either one of them, just love it. And
Right.
and I have my kids' friends saying, you got the coolest dad in the world, which is great for me because I thought I lost my cool a long time ago.
Like, yes.
So yeah, I'm cool again.
Who would have thought?
Really?
Capes and spandex make me cool.
Yeah. So it's a I don't let what other people think bother me.
Right.
The things that bother me, and getting a little philosophical here.
That's fine.
The things that bother me are the people who say, you shouldn't do that.
Okay.
You're a female and you're doing a male character, or you're not as svelte as somebody else and you're putting on a Princess Leia bikini. No, I have not put on a Princess Leia bikini, but anyway, it's just I'm making a point.
Right.
But so yeah, that's the kind of thing that bothers me, because I don't think there's any place in that because we're all pretending. We're all having fun, and it's a creative outlet. It's a way to do. I have met so many wonderful, wonderful people doing this, that some of which are very much like my family. And so yeah, I don't think, to me, I have any problem with anything I put on, and
Right.
I do try to be realistic. I mean, there's certain things. Nobody wants to see me in a Namor, Speedo, so I'm not going to do that. But it's and it's
You're like,
not
it's not that I'm not humble. I know.
right. It's not that
I wouldn't want to see me in this. So
right. And it's not that it's not that I'd be embarrassed, because on a bet I'd do it.
Yeah.
But it's this, when I do something, I'm putting everything into it, and so I want it to be. Obviously I do want it to look good.
Right.
And I'll tell you right now, anybody that cosplays and tells you that they don't like to have their picture taken is not telling you the truth.
Right.
And so now I love. I tell you, it's interesting. For a good while, I had my Batman Begins armor,
Okay.
and that was I had recently had to retire that, but before, when I wore it, it was very intimidating. It's black and it's
Yep.
big, and it looks like it came right off the screen. So
Yeah, that's an amazing cosplay, by the way. Costume.
Thank
Yeah,
you. I had a
stunning.
lot of help with that from a lot of friends. But that's one of those things where kids will sometimes they'll come up to you, and sometimes they're not so sure. So the first time I put on my Captain America, which is one of my favorite things to do, I had little kids running up and hugging me and wanting, and that's the kind of feeling that's why I do what I do.
Right.
Whether it's with Heroes Alliance or do I like to have my picture taken? You bet. Do I like to have my picture taken with a little one who's just excited because they got to meet Captain America? Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
Okay.
And that's what keeps me. That's what keeps me wanting to build and to tweak and to make things better, so I can so that some little one's gonna see that and their eyes get real big.
Yeah,
and
it's all excited. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
So I'm going to get philosophical briefly.
Sure.
So there are, like I said, I'm not too deep into the cosplayer costuming
Okay.
world, but I know some of the people out there. There are cosplayers now that are getting invited to the cons, and they're
Yes.
selling prints and all that. Coming from the old school kind of idea of cosplay, do you think that turning it into something where it becomes, in a way, now I don't want to say profit generating, because I don't know how much money these people are actually making,
Sure.
but it's starting to put kind of like a commercial aspect on it.
Sure.
Do you think that adds more pressure to maybe cosplayers coming up, that I have to match what this person looks like or what this person is doing? Or
You know what?
Do you see what I'm saying? Like, do you
Yeah,
think something in a way that's kind of taking the fun out of
and
cosplay for some people?
that's a very good point. Now let me touch on a couple points. The first point, I know a number of people who go to cons, who sell prints, who do that kind of thing. And you know what? If you can make a living doing something you love,
Yeah,
then more power to you.
exactly. Right.
Godspeed. And I don't care. I don't care if you're a female. I don't care if you're a male. I don't care who's buying the print. I don't care if they're buying it because you're scantily clad. I don't care if they're buying it because you're because you're a great costumer. I have got, and I don't know if you could see when we did. I have got pictures all over my walls of
Right.
people who either A, I consider family, or B, I am just so overwhelmed with their talent that and I have that. Are some of them dressed scantily? You bet.
Yes. Right.
If anyone who didn't know me came down here, they would see pictures of scantily clad, and that's fine,
Right.
because again, I go back to what a lot of times what people think about me really doesn't bother me that much, whether it's good
Right.
or bad. Um, so that's the first thing. If somebody can make a living doing it,
Right.
more power to you.
Power to you.
I have, with regards to it being intimidating for people to get started, yes, it can be. Well, it was intimidating to me when I first got started because I saw all these people, doing things, and I was like, there's no way that I'm going to get to that level. And then it's a matter of hopefully you have someone or a number of people who support you.
Right.
Fortunately for me, I had a number of people, excuse me, I had a number of people who I considered really, really good who
Right.
told me, have fun. Take your time, pick something that you enjoy and have fun with it. And,
Okay.
it doesn't matter, if it looks like, it came off a movie screen or not. And that comes down to each individual's you know
Right.
I have people I love when people post pictures. I have friends that will create a costume out of stuff they have in their closet,
Yep.
and it's so awesome. Now, to be fair, people who do this as a hobby probably have a lot more stuff in their closet that they can use, but still,
Possibly.
I've seen some amazingly creative things done. And so when anyone, and not to sound conceited or anything, but I have actually now had people contact me and ask questions, which first of all is tremendously honoring because I don't
Right.
feel like I'm anywhere near that level. But
Right.
I've had people contact me, and that's the first thing I tell them is don't worry about what your size is or what your find something that you like to do and have fun with it. And
Right.
if people, hopefully, if people have the same kind of experience that I had, where you find people who are supportive, they're gonna move forward. And the more that you do, the more that you learn, and the more that you I give you an example. This is I'm tweaking my Captain America.
Okay.
So this is my Captain America helmet. A guy who is like a brother to me. He goes on Facebook. His name is Bryn Londo.
Okay.
And I'm not going to say his real name because I don't know how many people he wants to know that. But anyway, so he started this off for me. And this is a rubber mask with one inside. If you can see inside there, that's
Yeah.
one of those masks that you see at Walmart.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's glued to the inside to give the
Okay.
face shape. Now,
Okay.
the back is still all floppy. So, and I don't care for that. So here's what I'm doing. Do you remember and they're still out there, those beer helmets?
Yeah.
Plastic
Yeah.
helmet with the thing on the, okay. So here is a Texas Ranger beer helmet that
Nice.
I found at Goodwill for $1. Okay.
There you go.
So now you'll notice it's cut in half. Okay? Because here is the back half.
Okay.
And you'll see it's the back half, and it's also got the
little-
thing inside to keep
yeah.
it. Yeah.
The
So
frame. Yeah.
this is now, I'm working, and I haven't got it glued in yet, but this is now going in here. And so I can actually show you now that not only is the helmet going to have full non-floppiness, it's
Cool,
also
okay.
it's also going to have and I'm going to put some padding around it as well, but it'll be a lot more comfortable to wear.
Nice.
So now, how did I do that? It just, I asked some people. I said, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And people were like, yeah, give it a try, because if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And if it does work, then it's great. So I think this is going to be awesome. I'll let you know, when it's all said and done.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
that's just one of the things that what I'm talking about is when people are supportive of each other and they're not
Mm-hmm.
competitive and all that kind of stuff, you can learn so much and you can bounce ideas off people. And that's what I do all the time is I'll bounce ideas off people. And more times than not, I'll have people tell me, say, sure, give it a try. What's you
Mm-hmm.
know what's the worst that could happen? It doesn't work and you're still still trying to figure something out. So I would hope that anybody who's new,
Mm-hmm.
and if they want to try it,
Mm-hmm.
they'll try it, and
Right.
and not get discouraged. Believe me, when I'm had a little less experience sewing, and there were days I'm like, somebody remind me why the heck I'm doing this, because I'm not having fun at the moment. And
Right.
but it's a so yeah, I would hope that people would, especially, and I know a lot of people that do, and I would hope anybody that's listening to this, that if you're a gifted
Mm-hmm.
cosplayer and you've been doing it for a while and people reach out to you, I hope that they would, be
Mm-hmm.
helpful and be supportive, and not try to dissuade somebody from doing something.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the whole point that I'm kind of new to fandoms.
Sure.
I got sucked into Supernatural,
Okay, well, there you go.
and the rest is history.
Okay.
I started watching Supernatural and Arrow in 2013.
Okay.
So I binge watched the first season of Arrow,
Okay.
and then I got into Supernatural, and 16 hours later, I was like, I'm hooked. And
Okay.
then that triggered me into writing fan fiction.
Oh,
And
cool.
I
Okay.
had one idea, and like you with the costume, you had
Uh-huh.
one idea for a costume. I had an idea for a scene of blending Arrow and Supernatural together,
Oh, okay.
which then turned into 3 novel-length fan fictions, which were a series, which were all
Wow.
crossovers.
Very cool.
And now I've written 3 other novels and 6 other fan fictions, and I'm a blogger. So
Well, there you go. And see, and it's amazing how that kind of stuff just takes off.
yeah, it does. I think that's the important thing that people sometimes I think forget when they get fractured in these different things is that there is an overarching story or genre or something that you love, and sometimes I think people tend to forget that when they get very caught up in these little
It's very
frictions.
true.
Because like I said, I'm new, but I was watching Supernatural. I mean, not Supernatural, but Arrow's still new technically.
Uh-huh.
And even in season 1, you were seeing fractions and factions starting,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, people, come on.
You know, it's you're it's so funny that you say that, because one of the things that bothers me, and I try not to let too much bother me. I
Yeah.
really do. But one of the things that really does bother me a lot is and these are my people. These
Yeah.
are my people.
Yeah.
Someone who let's take Ben Affleck.
Oh, here
Okay.
we go. Okay,
Here
I'm
we go.
buckling in for the
All
ride.
so who I can that got announced, and everybody went and excuse the
Ballistic.
pun,
Yeah.
bat about that. And I was like, people, we haven't even seen anything. And
Yeah.
you're saying, I mean, as I said before, I'm not a spring chicken. I remember when they announced that Michael Keaton was going to be
Oh yeah.
Batman.
Yep.
And you and I, if the
I
internet
remember
had
that.
been around, yeah, if the internet had been around back then, it would have exploded.
Yep.
I mean, and the same thing happened with Heath Ledger and the Joker. The same thing happened with
Yeah. Now Ledger's considered the iconic
right,
Joker now.
absolutely. And the same thing happened with Chris Evans and Captain America. People looked at it and said, "There's no way." Don't. I wish people would give things a chance.
Chance.
And if you love a character, I have a Batman tattoo, for crying out loud. No, I do. It's true. It's it, so it's safe to say that I love Batman. In my personal opinion, I have not seen a really great interpretation in live action. That's my opinion.
Right.
But I still don't the moment something gets announced, I still don't go, "Oh my God, that's going to be horrible," and I'm not going to watch it. It's just, it's very frustrating to me when people do,
Right.
when people,
You,
you got to give something a chance.
well,
And
and another example of that was Anne Rice, Vampire Lestat, and Tom Cruise.
yep, yep.
And everybody was like, "Oh God, he's going to destroy this." And then it comes out, and I think he did a better job than Brad Pitt.
I thought, and I was,
And I was just like, "Dang."
I will tell you, I am an Anne Rice fan. I have read all those, and I enjoyed it. I think the movie, the Queen of the Damned movie, went a little off the.
Yeah, I couldn't even
But
stand watching that. Well, and that bothered me less because of the acting and more of how they destroyed the actual history of the characters.
Right.
When you take source material and just, ugh.
But now I'll tell you what, and that's interesting that you say that, because people right now are saying the very same thing about Gotham. And honestly, I've watched it a few times. It's not my cup of tea. But that's okay. But they're doing some serious changes to the source material, but that's okay. If somebody likes it, if it brings another fan into into the fold. That's the other thing too that I always find interesting about people who say, "Well, you're not a real fan because," well, that's like Marvel. People who love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and people say, "Oh, well, you're not a real fan because you don't like, you don't know
Like this character or whatever."
Really, right. You only know, Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man. You don't know the real, as long as you're bringing another fan into the, what difference does it make?
Right.
Comic books have been around for a long time.
Well, and I think people who love comic books tend to forget that comic books themselves change their own stories and backstories and arcs all the time. I mean, how many times has Wolverine been reimagined? I mean, even just in the comic books, not even the movies.
You're absolutely correct. So that's those kinds of things bother me a little bit, but you know what? Like I said, as long as it brings a fan in and somebody's enjoying it, then heck. Like I said, Batman's been around for 75 years. There has been, everything from, Adam West to Christian Bale to Batman in the 50s, Batman going in the comic books going into outer space and and Batmite and Bat Dog and all the, so there's all kinds of stuff. So it's just, you like what you like and you pass on what you don't. And that's,
And I think people that don't know the history tend to forget or they don't know, I mean, a lot of people, if they saw, if they're the Batman Begins lovers with the Christian Bale and then you showed them the Adam West Batman, they'd like fall over and die. Because I mean, that's not even in the same spectrum of but people now, they associate Batman with Batman. And Adam West was very much like, "Oh, I'm just gonna, be goofy." Yeah.
Well, and here's a great example and I'll use my son as an example because bless his heart, he had no choice in the matter. He grew up to be a Batman fan because it was force fed to him, and but when he really started reading comic books and things like that, Dick Grayson was Nightwing. He wasn't Robin, and so Tim Drake, who is now not even Robin, was Robin. And so to my son, Tim Drake is Robin. He doesn't he knows that Dick Grayson used to be, but that's not really the point, is Tim Drake is Robin. So to me, as much as I enjoy the character and as much as I like Nightwing as a character, Dick Grayson will always be Robin. So that's again, and that's the same thing as you get people who come into the ride
different points
at a different point, and they're seeing something completely different.
And I think too, with the TV shows coming, the comic books coming to TV, you have people like me. I mean, I kind of had a peripheral knowledge of comics, but I'm totally in love with Arrow, the TV show.
Right.
But I know their source material, and I know there's a lot of TV viewers that don't know their source material, and they see the show and they're like, well, who is this person and why do we even care? I hate this character. I want what. And then you have the comic book people that are like, but wait, there's 50 years of history here that you're not even aware of.
That's so and so that you don't even know about. That's and I will freely admit I'm a big geek. That's one of the things I love about all these shows is no
Yeah.
matter what is I'll be watching something and I love the little
Easter eggs.
touches, the little Easter
Yeah.
eggs that are in there. I love those to death.
Hmm.
And so whenever something happens, I geek out and my wife just kind of nods her head. Who, by the way, I haven't said anything about her. My wife is amazing because when she married me, she did not sign up for this. She was, I would look at a comic book every once in a while, but I
Hmm.
mean, and she knew, I mean, she knew that I liked comic books and I would draw on occasion and that kind of thing. But she had no idea. If you had asked her 24 years ago if I was going to put on spandex and stuff, she would have laughed at you. So yeah, she's been awesome. And I think that's the other thing too that some
Hmm.
people don't appreciate in costuming or anything
Hmm.
like this is, and I talk about the support of friends and
Hmm.
things, but if your family supports what you do,
Yeah.
that's amazing. And I'm very, very blessed that my family supports me, 100%. My kids love to do it. My daughter works with me with the Heroes Alliance organization.
Hmm.
So
Does she
it's
cosplay or does she
she has not yet.
yet?
She is going to.
Hmm.
Actually, the first costume we're going to be working on for her is a Carrie Kelly Robin.
Oh, okay.
So she's really looking forward to that. And then there'll be some other things along the way. But again, I like to draw here and there. My daughter is an
Okay.
amazing artist, and
Hmm.
so she's 100 times better than I ever was at anything. So yeah, that's her kind of thing, and she loves the comic stuff, and she loves anime and all the Pixar
Hmm.
stuff. She's really into computer animation and that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, having that kind of support and people
Hmm.
who know that what you do is a little strange, but they're okay with it. That helps a great deal, and it helps a lot. To me, being not all that concerned about what
Hmm.
people think. Um, as again, as long as my family and my friend and my close
Hmm.
friends are cool with me, everybody else can get. I'll give you an example. Uh, do you remember recently there was a big stink about, and I want to say it was Old Navy, but I'm not sure. They were
Okay.
selling they were selling T-shirts,
Okay.
and they were supposedly degrading to females. One of them said like, "I'm training to be Batman's wife," and
Yeah,
and
I
that
saw it
kind of,
because you posted about that, and I was just
right.
like, what?
And
Okay.
so I made a pic because I was at Denver Comic Con and I was wearing a kilt.
Hmm.
And I had a Batman T-shirt on, and being me, I was taking a picture. I was curtsying in the kilt, and so I found a picture of the T-shirt, and and I photoshopped the training to be Batman's wife onto my chest of the
Right.
picture of me in the kilt,
Uh-huh.
and I got a lot of really positive, funny things. And I had one guy say, "Well, dude, you just need to turn in your man card." And my response to that was, I did turn in my man card a long time ago, traded it in for my awesome card, and I'm having a lot more fun now.
Nice.
So that's kind of if somebody thinks what I do is
Hmm.
is odd or strange or whatever, it really doesn't
Doesn't
affect
bother
me.
me. Yeah.
Doesn't bother me because I know that A, I'm having fun,
Hmm.
and B, every once in a while, I make somebody's life a little better,
Yeah.
and that right there makes it all worthwhile. So
Awesome. Yay. Another random question popped in my head, and then
sure,
we'll probably wrap up just because
okay,
this is something that, because, male cosplayer, I kind of want to run
sure,
this by you. I know a lot of the female cosplayers gender bend male costumes. Do
right,
you know of any male cosplayers, or is there any thought of doing a switch where they're gender bending a female to a
absolutely. I've
male?
seen I've seen
Hmm.
it all the time.
Okay.
I have friends
Hmm.
that have done that, and it's usually like in a group thing where
Hmm.
they'll swap like X-Men characters, and the
Okay.
females will do the male characters, and the males will do some of the female characters. Um, I'm I don't know that I would do it, and honestly, I
Hmm.
I don't know that I would do it because and this is going to sound really bad, and it's not meant to. I don't have a female character that I
Hmm.
am so enamored with
Right.
that's what I want to do. I've seen some really cool. There's a group of that have done the thing with Justice League, where they'll have all the female male characters, and then they'll have like somebody will do Wonder Woman as a man, and somebody does Power Girl as a man, and Huntress as a man, and those are really cool, and I love and I guarantee you, if I ever find a character that's just begging to have a 40-something middle-aged white
Follically
guy.
challenged.
Follically challenged guy do it. I'm right on there.
You got to track down the bald female characters, and you'll be good.
There you go. But no, I think it's great, and like I said, because it goes back to what I said about if you're having fun with what you're doing, then don't worry about what anybody else thinks. Don't because life is way too short to be
care.
really concerned about what the people who don't understand what you're trying to do say. And as long as you've got people who are who are there with you, have fun. And that's it is have fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing all your knowledge.
Absolutely.
And your experience is awesome. And if you know any other cosplayers, I know you know cosplayers, but that might be interested in doing another interview, let me know.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to make this somewhat of a series. Then I'm also trying to do a series with fan fiction. Because I find there's a lot of stuff for fan art, because I'm seeing like Stephen Amell and a lot of the stars now are doing like fan out Fridays and all that.
Right.
And I want to kind of get fan fiction writers and then cosplayers kind of going too. So I think that'd be kind of neat.
Would you mind if I plugged something real quick?
Plug away.
Because I'm very excited. Just within the last couple of years, I've been involved with a small con here in the Denver area called Rocky Mountain Con.
I was meant to ask you about that because I see you plug it on your page. So
absolutely.
Okay.
And Rocky Mountain Con is very much a smaller con. It's not it's not by any stretch of the imagination San Diego or Dragon Con or anything like that. And what it is it's actually a con that was started after the Aurora tragedy.
Okay.
And there's an organization here called Aurora Rise, which I've done some work with that helps the families of those affected by the shootings. And I'm sorry, my cat Bruiser was just
that's fine.
running through stuff. But anyway, so Rocky Mountain Con, a portion of the proceeds, actually a large portion of the proceeds from that goes to Aurora Rise. And we just announced a couple days ago that our guest of honor for next year, which will be 2015, is George Perez.
Nice.
The legend of Avengers and Teen Titans and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So if you see this and you can be in the Denver area next November, come see George Perez and see me, because I'll be wandering around.
Nice.
And some of the other folks that make it such a great con.
Awesome. And what I'll do when we get closer to it, I'll write me up a press release or something, and I'll post it on the Daily Fandom page.
Thank you so much.
And we can kind of plug it that way. That way I can tweet the links to that, and link it all together.
Fantastic.
Oh yeah, I'm all about sharing.
Well, thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
You bet.
And don't get frozen. I know it's a a little chilly where you
It's
are.
actually snowing outside right now, so yeah.
I'm in Arizona. I just won't say what my temperature is. It's sunny. We'll leave it at that.
Question: I'm actually may be in Arizona in Phoenix in February for the comic book con there. So I don't know.
Wait, no, February? What Comic Con? There's a Supernatural Con in February. Our big Comic Con's in June.
Right, but I think this is a smaller one.
FanFest is in December.
Let me shoot you. I'll shoot you a link.
Okay.
And because I'm planning on being there, so maybe we can get together and say hello.
Yeah, because I have press passes for FanFest. So I'm going to be at FanFest.
Okay.
And I'm volunteering for the Supernatural Con, so I'll be there.
Okay.
And then our big con here is June-ish, which is our big Phoenix Comic Con. So So send me the link to what you're going to, and we'll hook up.
Absolutely.
Not a problem.
I'll do it.
Right. Have a good weekend, sir. Thank you. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.